So our little team went to management and said, you know what? If we meet all of the targets for the 4, the 8 and the 12 weeks, send us to Queensland. Send us to the Gold Coast, all expenses paid for the weekend. And management were like, okay, you're never going to achieve that. So eventually they agreed to it. And you know what? We f***ing did it. We just absolutely worked our asses off for 12 weeks, meeting all of their targets, getting through so much work, it wasn't funny. Until finally, management had to send us to the Gold Coast. They paid for the flights, they paid for our accommodation. Yeah, it was pretty incredible. So we fly up to the Gold Coast and we just proceeded to get drunk. Like maggoted drunk in the hotel before dinner. We eventually went out for dinner, and for those watching internationally, it's a bit of a pastime, or it used to be anyway, for Australians to take the piss out of each other, meaning to tease and have fun with. And Avril was the recipient that night, and we were just paying out Avril so much. She was laughing, we were all laughing so much that mid-joke, Avril jumps up, runs into the center of the restaurant and like doing a dance. Like she's looking around trying to find something, jumping up and down, still laughing, still just tears pissing down her face because of all the ribbing she's been getting. And then she finally sees what she needs, the toilet. So she makes a beeline from the middle of the restaurant, other diners all around her, middle of the restaurant to the toilet. Before she can open the toilet door, warning, she starts projectile vomiting at the toilet door. It was the funniest thing I've ever seen. At the door, she pushes open the door, the projectile vomit is still just, it's like that scene in Team America where the puppet Muppety thing is just throwing up. And there's just carnage, absolute carnage. So Jess helped her clean it up because the restaurant were obviously freaking out. We left a massive tip. But to Avril's credit, she left the restaurant, went back to the hotel, got changed, cleaned herself up, and came back out drinking. Which came crashing down the next morning when we decided to go to a theme park on the Gold Coast. That was messy. But after the full night of drinking, we went back to the hotel. We were on like the 30-something floor. And Jess and I sat up talking until the sun came up. We shared a kiss. Didn't go any further than that. But yeah, that was it. We came back to Melbourne and I basically quit ANZ. So I had friends in the UK and they're like, come over to the UK. So I was never going to save up enough money living and working in Melbourne to pay for a European holiday. So I quit ANZ and went up to Cairns or Townsville or somewhere to work in the mine for 6 months to get a bit of cash up. And Jess and I messaged each other every friggin' day, talked constantly. But she was at the bottom of Australia, I was at the top of Australia. Messaged every day for 6 months and spoke. until finally I'd decided, that's it, I got enough money, I can book my trip to leave from Melbourne, and went down to Melbourne. I had a week before I flew to London, and Jess and I spent just every waking moment together. To walk through the city, talked, got caught in a rainstorm at the observatory, sat on a park bench while it was just barkening down rain, talked, kissed. And so that was my last sort of day. I was flying out the next day, and so I'd learned this phrase in Spanish, which was ha ha ha. Which was, I think I'm falling in love with you. And so as she jumped into the taxi, I said that to her. I knew she wasn't going to know what I said because she didn't speak Spanish, and I wasn't game enough to say it in English. But yeah, she said she cried the whole way home and for the next few days, and the next day I got on a flight and went to London. Spent a few weeks in London bumming around with my mate Marty. Spent a couple of weeks in Copenhagen. Spent a couple of weeks in Paris. I went back to London. I was sleeping on Marty's floor. You know, we were going to bars and stuff, and I just couldn't get this is going to be a long video. Couldn't get her out of my head. So I found a telephone box one morning. I phoned her up and I said, hey, do you want to come and bum around Europe with me? No strings attached, just come over. Two days later, she quit her job. And 5 days after that, I was at Heathrow picking her up. So that we were both sleeping on Marty's floor. We booked a bus tour, jump on and jump off bus tour around Europe. And so we did that for a few months. We just went to Spain, spent time in Madrid and Seville and Andalusia and Granada and Barcelona, which was amazing. France and Marseille and Italy. We really wanted to go to Prague, but this is back in the day where you actually needed, or Australians needed visas, which were quite difficult to come by. So we were in Hungary trying to get a visa for Prague for like 2 weeks, and it just didn't come, just didn't eventuate for whatever reason. So we're like, okay, let's go to Poland. We missed the bus to Poland. Poland, you also needed a visa, and it was a specific time frame where we had to put in the date we were going to be there, and we missed that bus, so we're going to expire our visas, miss our visas. So yeah, we went to Germany and Netherlands, back to France, back to London. While in Austria though, freaking hell, she made me go on the bloody Sound of Music tour through all the locations in and around Salzburg, on the friggin' bus, singing all the songs and all that sort of crap. She loved that friggin' movie. But I got her back when we finally got back to London, and I found out my favourite band were playing, Opeth. They're from Sweden. So yes, Jess came along and saw Opeth. And this is like 2002, in a tiny little, venue in London. Got to meet them after the gig, and yeah, so it was amazing. But you know, we'd had these plans to sort of work in London, and we both, I guess, couldn't be bothered, so we came back to Australia as a couple. Where we went back to a temp agency. Both went back to ANZ. Temped for ANZ for about a year until we were both made permanent again. And that's where we stay for the next 18 years. Man, what a freaking roller coaster. I do not want to take my blood pressure right now. Yeah, it's so hard. Anyway, I think I've been driving around and around in circles because this trip was meant to take me like 25 minutes to get where I'm going, and the sat nav has just been freaking out. So I think I've driven a lot longer and dribbled on a lot more than I was actually going to. But again, I guess this is what this trip's for.